Most people don't realize they are becoming millionaires until it has already happened. While the world chases flashy cars, true wealth is hiding in plain sight on a quiet Tuesday morning. But wealth doesn't always live in a mansion. Sometimes it hides behind a modest door and a perfectly manicured lawn. Then there's John. He wakes up without a screaming alarm, his face calm, because he's no longer a slave to the clock. However, look closely at his clothes. He wears high-quality fabrics, but there isn't a single designer logo in sight. He's stopped buying things to impress people he doesn't even like. But what if the most powerful signs of wealth are the ones nobody else can see? These are the 6 silent signs you're getting rich, even if you don't feel it yet. Yet, when John looks in the mirror, he doesn't see a celebrity or a flashy tycoon. He sees a man with a quiet strategy that is already quietly winning the game. But as he walks into his kitchen, you won't find the latest high-tech gadgets or designer appliances cluttering the counters. However, he reaches for a simple, reliable coffee pot, completely ignoring the $5,000 espresso machines his neighbors brag about. Then you realize the truth. Wealth isn't about what you spend. It's about the quiet, invisible habits you build when no one is watching. But the first silent sign of wealth is hidden right here in this drawer. While others are busy financing a lifestyle they can't afford, you're quietly eliminating your biggest burden. However, look at the red ink. It's a mortgage document, but it isn't a bill. It's a certificate of completion for the biggest purchase of your life. Then you feel it. Not the rush of a new purchase, but the physical weight of debt finally lifting off your shoulders, leaving you with a house that is truly yours. Yet, the house is just the beginning. You look at your credit card statement and see the most beautiful number in finance, 0.00. But it wasn't always this quiet. There was a time when the mailbox felt like a trap, filled with high-interest letters that stole your sleep. Meanwhile, back in the present, you close that drawer with a finality that feels like locking a vault. The cycle of interest is broken forever. But could this be the true definition of a milestone? Owning your roof and your minutes is the first silent sign. But most people are too busy looking for a gold chain to notice the secret weight being lifted. However, he glances at his phone, waiting for the usual stress of a Tuesday. Nothing. No collection agents, no past due warnings. Just peace. Why does total silence feel more expensive than a luxury car? Then, a math shift occurs in his mind. If your paycheck isn't being redistributed to banks, whose money is it really? John realizes he's finally keeping 100% of his effort. But where is that effort heading next? But imagine a heavy, rusted chain shattering into 1,000 pieces. This is the moment your money stops belonging to the bank and finally starts belonging to you. However, John walks to his car, a 5-year-old sedan that doesn't turn any heads. It's quiet, reliable, and completely paid off. But why would a man getting rich drive something so average? Then he arrives at the second silent sign, the price tag test. He pulls into the lot of a high-end grocery store, but he isn't here to show off. He's here for something much more valuable. Meanwhile, he walks through the aisles, picking up organic produce and high-quality proteins. He remembers when a steak was a luxury reserved only for birthdays. Yet, look at his eyes. He is reading the ingredients and checking for quality, not squinting at the neon yellow discount stickers. Why has the price tag suddenly become invisible? Then he places a premium bottle of olive oil in his cart without a second thought about the cost. His subconscious already knows he's safe. But what happens when the math stops mattering? But there is a moment when the survival math in your head just stops. When you stop calculating the total before reaching the register, Your subconscious is whispering a secret. The scarcity of your past is finally dead. However, as he reaches the checkout counter, the old ghosts of his paycheck-to-paycheck days try to whisper. He watches the items scan, the numbers climbing higher and higher with every mechanical beep. Then, the final total flashes. It's a number that would have sent his younger self into a panic. But look at John's heart rate. His pulse is steady. Wealth isn't just the number on the screen. It's the lack of adrenaline in your veins. But he swipes his card with a single fluid motion. There's no checking the balance first, no silent prayer to the bank gods, just the quiet, mechanical beep of approval. Meanwhile, John walks out, bags in hand, feeling a weight that isn't heavy at all. He's no longer hunting for survival discounts. He's buying quality because he values his body more than a few saved pennies. However, as he drives home in his silent, paid-off sedan, the friction of the world seems to have vanished. But this ease wasn't an accident. It was the result of a secret he started years ago. But true wealth isn't just about what you stop owing. It's about what you start owning. John settles into his office chair and picks up his digital tablet, the third silent sign waiting to be revealed. However, look at the screen. It's not a social media feed or a mountain of bills. It's a stock portfolio dashboard glowing with steady green upward trends. Then you see it, the dividends received section. While John was sleeping, commuting, or even just breathing, his money was out there working a double shift. Yet he scrolls further, his eyes tracing the balance between ETFs, stocks, and bonds. He isn't betting on a single horse. He's building a fortress that can withstand any storm. But this is the engine of wealth. Most people trade their hours for dollars, but John has flipped the script. His money has officially started working harder than he ever could. Meanwhile, a red notification flashes across the top of his screen. Market down 3%. In the past, this would have triggered a heart attack. Now, it's just another Tuesday. However, he zooms out on the growth chart, tracing a line that started as a flat whisper years ago and is now screaming toward the top of the screen. Compounding is a slow, agonizing game, but once the momentum shifts, it becomes a force of nature. Every dollar he sacrificed in his 20s. Then John sets the tablet down, the screen going dark with a soft click. He doesn't need to refresh the page every 5 minutes because he's reached the psychological peak of investing. He knows that his future self is already taken care of. He isn't working for survival anymore. He's just finishing the paperwork. But imagine your wealth not as a static pile of gold, but as a living organism. Deep inside that tablet, a tiny digital seedling suddenly erupts, transforming into a massive, gnarled oak tree. Its roots have locked into the earth so deeply that no market storm, no inflation, and no economic... Yet, this is the ultimate silent sign. It's a quiet confidence that radiates from the inside out. You aren't just rich on a screen, you're rich in your nervous system. But what happens when the rest of the world tries to tempt you back into the race? However, sign number 4 is about the trap most people fall into just before they reach the finish line. Outside, a neighbor pulls up in a brand new screaming red Italian sports car. It's loud, it's expensive, and it's designed to be noticed. But John doesn't feel a single spark of envy. Then, you look at the man behind the wheel. He's adjusting a flashy, oversized watch and checking his phone with a frantic, stressed energy. To the world, he looks like he's winning. To John, he looks like a man who is one bad month away from losing it all. The flashy trap is the most expensive. But John looks down at his own wrist. He isn't wearing a status symbol. He's wearing a tool that tells time perfectly and costs less than a tank of gas. However, he still remembers the burning itch to keep up, that toxic voice telling him he needed the bigger house and the faster car just to be respected. Then
you realize the secret math of the elite. The rich buy luxury last, but the middle class buys it first to pretend they've already arrived.
Yet, when John passes the hallway mirror, he doesn't see a man needing validation from a brand. He sees a man whose value is no longer for sale. He has failed the social status game on purpose because he's playing a much bigger one. But he opens his closet to reveal a minimalist capsule wardrobe. No logos, no loud patterns. Just 5 high-quality shirts and 3 pairs of trousers that never go out of style. While his neighbors are chasing trends that die in a month, John is wearing freedom. However, this is where stealth wealth becomes his ultimate shield. By looking average, he's avoided the predators, the fake friends, and the endless pressure to perform. He has realized that the quietest man in the room is often the one who could buy the whole building.
Then, imagine your net worth as a solid gold bar tucked inside a plain, dusty cardboard box. To a thief, it looks like trash. To a neighbor, it's just clutter. But to you, it's the ultimate security. This is the failure of the social status game that makes... Meanwhile, John sinks into his chair. It isn't Italian leather or a designer statement piece. It's just comfortable. He has accepted the failure of the show to embrace the success of the soul. He is a ghost in the system, and that is his greatest superpower.
But wealth isn't just about the massive digits on a tablet. It's about sign number 5, the discipline of the piggy bank. John walks to his shelf and picks up a simple ceramic jar. Why does a man with a growing portfolio still value a handful of copper and zinc? However, he shakes it slightly, hearing the heavy, rhythmic clink of coins and the muffled rustle of folded bills. To an outsider, it's just spare change. To John, it's the heartbeat of his discipline. Then you realize this is his fun fund. It's a psychological anchor, a reminder that no matter how big the numbers on his tablet grow, he still knows the value of a single dollar. But here is the hard truth. Wealth is a habit of accumulation, not a one-time event of luck. While others wait for a lightning strike, you are quietly building a mountain, one stone at a time. Yet, John remembers the days when saving change wasn't a choice, but a survival tactic. He recalls staring at a handful of coins, wondering if it would be enough for a gallon of gas to get to work. Then, he looks at the calendar on the wall. Every Friday for the last 10 years is marked with a bold X. It represents a transfer to savings, a decision he made once and never questioned again. Meanwhile, the consistency of his actions over the years is what built the mountain he now stands on. He didn't find a pot of gold. He manufactured it out of thin air through pure, boring repetition. But he places the jar back on the shelf with the same reverence he gives his million-dollar portfolio. He knows that the size of the container doesn't matter. It's the character of the man filling it. However, he suddenly realizes something profound. He isn't trying to be disciplined anymore. The struggle is gone. His wealth has become as natural and automatic as his own heartbeat. Then, consider the power of the drop. A single droplet of water is insignificant, but given enough time, it can fill an ocean. You don't feel the water rising until you're finally standing on the shore of your own freedom. But the final and most powerful sign doesn't happen in your bank account. It happens in your spirit. Sign number 6 is the absolute freedom of choice. John is back at his desk, working with a focused, quiet intensity that most people only reserve for emergencies. However, the atmosphere shifts when his boss walks in, asking for a high-pressure status update. In the past, John's heart would have hammered against his ribs. Today, he just looks up and responds with a professional, bone-deep confidence that cannot be faked. Then, you realize what John has actually built. It's the legendary concept of FU money.
It's not about being rude or quitting on a whim. It's the silent power to say no to anything that doesn't align with your values, your health, or your peace of mind.
Yet, John looks at his desk and realizes a shocking truth. He isn't sitting here because he has to be. He's here because he wants to be. When your work becomes a choice rather than a prison sentence, you've officially crossed the invisible wealth threshold.
Meanwhile, he glances at his coworker, who is sweating over a rumor of upcoming layoffs. John feels a deep wave of empathy. He remembers that cold, hollow feeling of being one bad email away from losing everything. But today, the panic just won't stick to him. Then, John runs a quick mental calculation. If the company went bankrupt tonight, his life wouldn't change for years. He has built a survival runway so long that he's forgotten what it feels like to be afraid. This is the ultimate turning point, the death of financial fear.
But this realization is the ultimate silent sign, the total absence of fear regarding the future. While others pray for stability, you've built a mountain that makes the wind feel like a breeze. However, John takes a deep breath, and for the first time, the air feels lighter. His financial foundation isn't just a stack of papers, it's a rock-solid platform that lets him stand taller than he ever thought possible. Then he looks out at the sprawling city skyline. He doesn't own the skyscrapers, but he finally feels like he owns his piece of the world, unbound, unbought, and completely free. Yet, true wealth isn't just a high number on a balance sheet. It is the total absence of financial anxiety. When the unknown no longer feels like a threat, you've already reached the summit.
Meanwhile, John finishes his workday and walks out of the building with a light, easy stride. He isn't rushing to a second job. He's just going home to live his life on his own terms.
Then he stops at a park on the way home, watching families play and enjoying the free sunset. He realizes the best things, his time, his peace, his health, are now fully protected.
But it turns out the ultimate dividend isn't money. It's the ability to sit on a park bench and realize your time is finally, truly your own.
Then he walks through his front door, past the paid mortgage folder. That stack of paper isn't just wood pulp, it's the deed to his sanity.
However, he taps his tablet one last time. The green lines are still there, growing in the dark, while he prepares for a deep, dreamless sleep.
Meanwhile, he glances at the ceramic piggy bank, smiling at how far he has come from humble beginnings. It wasn't about the coins, it was about the man he had to become to save them.
Yet, John sits on his porch, a wealthy man in a dress shirt and tie, unnoticed by the world. He has achieved the ultimate luxury, the power to be completely invisible while being completely invincible.
But if you see these signs in your own life, don't rush the process. You've already won. Because true wealth isn't a destination. It's the quiet peace of knowing you are finally free.
Then the camera pulls back, revealing a world where the loudest voices are rarely the richest. Behind every quiet door, a secret army of disciplined souls is winning the game without saying a single word.
But remember this, your silence is your strength, and your habits are your legacy. Keep going. The world doesn't need to see your wealth for it to be real. Subscribe to master the quiet path to freedom.